The off season is almost officially here, people. And today we're doing something that I've been saying I've been wanting to do for a while now. Obviously, this past weekend we had some insane conference championship games, and now everyone's saying, oh, this Super Bowl is gonna suck. It's gonna be so boring, blah, blah, blah. Because your team ain't good. Let's be honest. Your team couldn't beat the two top teams in the NFL. That's why it's going to be boring. And yes, the Chiefs have been there 4 of the last 5 times. Well, then beat them. All right? 49ers have been here twice in the past 5 years. Well, then beat them. You got to beat them to get to where they are. Obviously, I am a little bit heartbroken for the Lions. That would have been a really cool story. I truly think the two better teams won yesterday. Baltimore and Dan Campbell. I thought the last decision by Dan Campbell could definitely be argued for or argued about for a while. In the moment, I thought he should have taken the field goal, and maybe, I'm wrong in thinking that, but in the moment, I thought it, and I still think it. They would have been tied if they still had that last drive as well, and in a touchdown, but is what it is. You cannot change it now. I respect the consistency from him on the coaching side and playing to what they did all season. So we got Chiefs, we got Niners in the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people aren't happy about it, but let me know your Super Bowl predictions in the comments. And let's get into these quarterback rankings. This is probably going to be the only one that's going to be out pre-Senior Bowl, just because I think these aren't going to change much for me, even with the Senior Bowl. So at number 10, someone who is a Senior Bowl invite and participant, Joe Milton III out of Tennessee, standing at 6'5", 236 pounds. I have a round 6 projection on him. Could even be around 5. I think you could definitely make that argument. Milton originally committed to Michigan, transferred to Tennessee 2 seasons ago, maybe 3. And I mean, the one thing that you can say, well, there's really two things that you can say. The dude is a plus athlete, and he has an absolute rocket launcher of an arm. Most likely the strongest and biggest arm in the class here at number 10. A ton of potential. Like, his ceiling, if you could get the most out of him, is like Mahomes, Josh Allen like potential. The problem is the inaccuracy. And it's shown since the day he stepped foot on a college football field, all the potential in the world, but just never could find the accuracy and the touch. And I'm going to be showing highlights for these guys in these. And when you're watching some of these, you can see the quick release, the velocity, the big arm that he has, the athleticism, the power that he runs with. When you're also watching those, you can see that he doesn't have the touch on some of those deep balls and those post routes. Some of them are a bit underthrown, and that's pretty consistent when you watch his film. He underthrows a lot of guys or misthrows, maybe over them on crossers, whatever it is. He needs to figure that out, and I think in the right scheme and under the right coaching, you can figure out how to fix that, and this guy could take over your starting quarterback's job depending on what team he goes to. But I also think he can be a very high-end backup quarterback if he never really sees the field as a starter. But again, potential is up there with the best of them. If he would have put together a really good season this year and Tennessee, is a top 10 team because of Joe Milton after this year, he probably would have been considered as a top 6 to 7 quarterback, maybe going in that day 2 area, because he is 24. He's a 6-year senior. He'll be 24 on draft day, by the way. It's not even 24 when his rookie season starts. So he is an older guy. Maybe not as old as his former teammate Hendon Hooker was, but at the same time, that is going to concern some teams. He didn't have a ton of injuries that I'm aware of, so that is a good thing for him. Another one of his big things when you're watching tape is he fights for extra yards, and that could be a pro and a con depending on how you look at it. Lamar Jackson kind of had to find that out the hard way in the NFL, that these guys hit a little harder, and it's gonna hurt a lot more. So Milton in the NFL probably should learn to slide and understand situational football and when to run a guy over and fight for the extra yard and when to just go down, take what the defense gave you, just pick up the first down if you can. If not, it's okay. Again, potential sky high. I do have him here at 10, which might be unpopular. I don't know. Joe Milton, number 10, potential sky high, round 6 pick. This could be maybe a steal down the line. Going on to number 9, also another round 6 guy for me, at least just day 3, Michael Pratt, out of Tulane, 6'3", 220. So obviously good size for the position, not undersized by any means. And he consistently got better as a passer from his freshman to senior year. And he played, I believe, 10 games as a true freshman, which is very impressive. And he carried that all the way to his senior year. He's a 4-year starter. But like I said, got better every single time, or every single season, I should say, especially in the accuracy department. Because his freshman year, I want to say he was like around the 56% completion percentage. And then this year, you look at his season stat, he was up to 65.4%, 22 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns. This dude's a sneaky athlete. When he's sitting back there in the pocket, it doesn't really look like he can run, but he moves well within the pocket. He can step up, take off, get you those first downs with his legs, get you touchdowns with his legs. He is Tulane's all-time leading or passing yards leader. He, I believe, got that this year. His mechanics are pretty good for the most part. Footwork sometimes in that lower half can falter a little bit, and you'll see some missed throws still. But he has worked a ton on his mechanics since his freshman to his senior year. Another guy we'll see at the Senior Bowl. And from everything I know, this dude is a leader as well. His teammates love him. And you can see in this picture as well that believe with the 7 in it on that bicep is actually for a high school teammate of his that unexpectedly died, unfortunately, his senior year in high school, who also wore number 7. That's why Pratt wears number 7, which is a really cool story. Well, it's an unfortunate story, but at the same time, a cool story, if you kind of get what I'm saying. Some downsides to Pratt. Yes, he has a solid arm, but probably one of the weaker arms in this class, if not the weakest of the top 10, at least. Because yes, he can be like a clinical passer and just kind of dink and dunk and go over the middle, these intermediate balls. The deep ball he really struggles with, though, especially touchdown there. He is confident in his arm. However, confidence does not mean you have a big arm by any means. And I don't know if in a full NFL offense he can make every single throw. Like Joe Milton, who we just talked about, he can make every single throw. It's just, will it be accurate or not? Pratt will probably be accurate for the most part, but can he make that throw consistently and with zip? Because in the NFL, if you're not throwing with zip, you're going to get picked off and not be very successful. That's just, it is what it is. These guys play faster, they play harder, smarter. Everyone's football IQ is just off the charts. And he doesn't have the quickest release ever as well. So on those deep balls, he has a very winding release that can kind of lead to not being able to throw with anticipation, or at least consistently he won't on those deeper throws. So something to definitely watch at the Senior Bowl are going to be those deep balls with him. I think in the short and intermediate, he'll be just fine. But the deep ball is what I will be watching, and I think you should tune in as well. But a really good quarterback prospect here at number 9. I had him just above Joe Milton just because the consistency. He was a 4-year starter, so I have to give that to him. He's a good leader, good teammate, a lot of things that you want in a quarterback. It's really just his arm, and obviously he didn't play in a Power 5 conference as well, playing at Tulane. But Tulane's a very good program, and the American conference, the AAC, is a good football conference. Like, they got good teams in that conference, so don't discount that at all. Here at number 8, oh yes, Spencer Rattler, former 5-star commit out of high school, 5th-year senior at South Carolina, I believe. There's a lot of like conversation to be had with Spencer Rattler. He will be at the Senior Bowl, but a guy who a lot of people had huge expectations for, like number 1 overall pick expectations going into the 2022 draft, I believe, or maybe it was the 2021 draft. Basically, when he was a true junior, people were having him at the top of the draft, like conversations. Him and Sam Howell and Keaton Slovis as well, who's in this class, were all within that upper echelon of projected guys who could go in the first round of that draft. None of them did. I think Sam Howell was the only one who actually entered that draft of the 3, obviously, because Keaton Slovis is in this draft. But Spencer Rattler has all the talent in the world, right? We all know that the arm talent is there. He throws with velocity, has a big arm. He can throw from different arm angles. He dealt with a lot of adversity in his career. He's much more mature now, which is one of the reasons he did get benched at Oklahoma for Caleb Williams, along with just bad play. The thing is teams are going to wonder, is he a true leader? What do his teammates actually think about him? Has he actually matured? Not in the spotlight, those types of things that we will figure out. But obviously this year he had a very good year, almost 69% completion percentage, pretty nice. But his career, he had a 68.5% completion percentage. Like, the dude knows how to hit his guys. Obviously, a lot of growth from his freshman year or sophomore year, I guess, to now. I do have a round 5 projection on him. I would not mind pushing him up to round 4. We will see at the Senior Bowl. I think that'll be a big indicator for where he is actually going to be projected, because I think he could go as high as round 3 in that day 2 area. However, he is only 6'1". It's not like he is this 6'4", prototypical NFL size. He is undersized. It really makes you wonder, like, what went wrong at Oklahoma, from being projected number 1 overall one year to now round 5 or 5th round projection. And that's pretty consensus. Like, day 3 to late day 2 is kind of what he's looking at, and it's not on the talent. He has the talent. It's just he's had some inconsistencies. But obviously, South Carolina, the O-line did not give him the best opportunity to succeed. He did have Xavier Legette, Juice Wells. He had some good weapons, but that South Carolina team just wasn't great. We went into this season, even, it was kind of like a make or break for him. And I don't know if he made it or like broke it. Like, he kind of just stayed in the middle, and we just still have a ton of questions about this kid. But under the right coaching, this is for Joe. I said it for Joe Milton as well. Under the right coaching, if you can make sure he is going to be that leader type of, like, mature person who can bring that to the field as a player and lead some guys, he could be a very good NFL quarterback, and this could be another big steal of this draft. There's a lot of high upside guys, and him and Joe Milton are 2 of them, that are going to be in these later rounds that teams are going to take a swing on, and as they should, because if you can develop a couple more things, these guys are going to be stars or just very high-end quarterbacks in the league that obviously sometimes just doesn't come to fruition. I will say, though, for how bad his O-line was, I'm surprised that he really didn't get injured. It is kind of impressive. But Spencer Rattler here at 8, I still have a ton of questions myself. Um, but like I said, the arm strength and arm talent is there. He can throw from different arm angles. He can throw with anticipation. He was really good in the short game and the intermediate. Um, he's mobile. He is a dual threat athlete. Maybe not the best athlete in the world, but he can get out of pressure, take off, use his legs. But there are those questions: immaturity, leadership, even field of vision at 6'1". QB7 is gonna be Jordan Travis for me, who's also 6'1". Another skinny frame and build type of guy. Uh, More of a pro style quarterback. He really just likes to sit in the pocket and be that good decision maker that he is and get his guys the ball. He wants to get his weapons the ball and let them do what they do best. Um, he doesn't have the biggest arm in the world, but it is better than average, I would say. He can put it in tight windows. He can make those long throws to the outside hashes. He is not at the Senior Bowl, unfortunately, but he did break his leg with 2 games left, I believe. That was very, very unfortunate. I think because he's also another guy. He'll be 24 at the start of his senior year, 6-year senior again. He'll be an East West Shrine Bowl guy, so he's probably doing interviews there. He's a natural leader. We know that. His teammates absolutely love him. Everything that they said after the injury, we kind of understand how important Jordan Travis was to that team as their leader, as their teammate, as their captain, and it showed on the field as well. Those guys played hard for him. But like I said, he doesn't have maybe the biggest arm in the world, but he does have a good arm, and I think he should. I don't remember the severity of his injury, but he might be able to do some drills at least at the combine. So that could be huge for his stock. Obviously, I have a round 4 grade on him. He could go in that day 2 area. I think he'll be day 3 though, because he is a little bit of an older prospect, and that injury is going to cause some concern for teams to take a chance on. So I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Spencer Rattler actually went before him. But for me, I have Jordan Travis ahead of him. He just showed he can play at a high level more consistently. A pretty accurate quarterback, to say the least. Doesn't always throw with anticipation, but when he does, it's usually on the dot. And hopefully, as well, with some good rehab and time away from football, he will be able to get back to the athlete that he was, because he is pretty mobile. The play he got injured on was not in the pocket where he got rolled up on. He did run, had that hip drop tackle, which was, I mean, I know they want to take it out of the game, but you just can't. It's just going to happen, unfortunately. Yeah, that situation kind of is what it is. You can't go back on that one and tell him to slide because he was fighting for yards, man. It's unfortunate. It's football. Back to, his strengths. He does throw with good mechanics, even though sometimes they're a little bit inconsistent. And he has some good pocket awareness. He always has his eyes down the field looking for his receivers, and he had some damn good ones as well. Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, Jaheim Bell. He had some weapons out there. So I understand why he kept his eyes downfield, but pressure didn't really throw him off a whole lot. At least for my opinion, it could change. But a very solid quarterback prospect here. Just unfortunate with that injury in his 6th year. That's going to be the kicker. If this was, a 21-year-old, maybe that doesn't factor in as much depending on how well his rehab is. But he will be 24 at the start of his rookie year. So you got to take everything into consideration. Oh, this should get interesting. At number 6, Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. Huck the Fuskies, first of all, even though Michael Penix is a fantastic quarterback prospect. To have the 6th quarterback be projected round 2, and that's probably at the minimum, is pretty crazy. He has great pocket awareness. He can step up into the pocket when pressure's coming around. He can make every throw. That arm strength flashes, to say the least. He's got great football IQ. He did show the ability to process the field, take what the defense can give him, or is giving him. He's a good decision maker, even though this year he did have a high in interceptions. I think some of them were just good plays by the defense or unfortunate. Sometimes, though, he does force passes, maybe a little too confident in that arm of his. Definitely a pro style quarterback. He has prototypical size, 6'3", 215. You could probably bulk him up a little bit. He does have the legs. However, with the legs, he did have 2 ACL injuries at least at Indiana that I can remember. So how mobile will he be? Yes, he uses it to get, out of the way of pressure and all that, but he's not the most athletic to say the least. At least out of the prospects this year. And he will be at the Senior Bowl, so we will get to see maybe a little bit more of that. I don't know. I think he also had a shoulder injury at Indiana, because he did have 4 season-ending injuries there before transferring to UW. Another 6-year senior. It seems like we got a lot of those guys here this year, and he doesn't have the quickest release of all time. It's a little bit winding with that lefty motion. But with that being said, he has great touch on deep balls and outside throws. He can put it in an absolute basket for your receiver. He puts it right in the bucket. Go watch that Texas game, both Oregon games. He made big plays in the Apple Cup against WSU, unfortunately. But in those games as well, especially the Apple Cup, he forced some at the end of the game that could have cost them to go to overtime or lose the game. So you do have to, see both sides of it. He is a very accurate passer. They call him the archer for a reason. But like I said, he does have a little bit of an unorthodox throwing motion. And when he gets flushed outside, he is definitely not the most accurate on the run. You saw that in both Texas and the Michigan game a lot, where the Michigan game, that was probably his worst game he's had in 3 years at least. And another thing you have to factor in is he also played behind one of the best O-lines in the country. So he wasn't pressured a ton. And then when he was, especially in that Michigan game, it flustered him a lot. So, and I mean, that's going to happen. Of course, pressure in your face it's not easy to deal with, especially when you're trying to throw the ball 15 to 20 yards down the field. But he does have a lot of pros to his game. A team is going to be willing to take a chance on him. Maybe a team like Atlanta, or I don't know, if the Patriots don't go quarterback in the first, they could definitely go Penix in the second or the late first. And he showed, again, to be a really good leader. He was a captain. You see the C on his shoulder. Teammates loved him. Obviously, he had great chemistry with guys like Odunze, McMillan, Jalen Polk. And if you want to see his arm strength, I'm just going to put this in here. Go look at the USC game, and when he was rolling to his left, that absolute missile to Devin Culp tells you all you need to know about this dude's arm strength. It is absurd. That throw was insane. That's all I have to say. As we get to the top 5, J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan, youngest player, not youngest player, but youngest quarterback, I believe, in the draft. Only lost 1 game as a starter. He's a winner. He is a winner. And that's a pretty big thing. And he's got a lot of potential. Obviously, this year he had a career year. Almost 73% completion percentage is insane. Only 4 interceptions to 25 total touchdowns. Yeah, the dude's got potential for sure. But at the same time, the question is always going to arise of why did they not rely on him sometimes in bigger moments? Obviously, in the Alabama game, that final drive I loved, and the overtime drive as well, because it showed that he can play under big time situations and make the plays that are necessary to win games. You think of, I believe it was the 4th down, or maybe it was the 3rd down on the shallow crosser, hit his guy or whatever it was, for 30 yards, and then they went down. He used his legs a couple times, and they tied up that ball game, and then went into overtime with the momentum, scored a touchdown. The rest was history. They kicked the shit out of the Huskies in the national championship. He didn't have a ton to do with the national championship because they got up and just were able to possess the ball a ton with that run game, which again leads to he didn't have to do a lot because the run game was so good, and that's going to be a big question because he is still raw as a prospect. But like I said, super high potential. He's got a very good arm, and he's a good athlete. He is definitely a dual threat quarterback, like a lot of the quarterbacks in this draft. He doesn't force a lot of balls. He's poised in the pocket. Pressure doesn't affect him a ton. But again, that Michigan O line in front of him didn't allow a lot of pressure. He's a good leader, great teammate. His teammates loved him. I've said that about a lot of guys, but it's just facts. He does have a little bit of a skinnier frame at 6'3", 202. He could definitely put on some weight. His height's good though. He's not undersized by any means. In the height department, but he also wasn't asked to do a lot pre-snap in that Michigan offense. He was decent reading the defense post snap, but I think that offense helped him out a lot. And not having to read the defense post snap is kind of just take your first or second read and just sling it or take off with your legs or hand the ball off, you know? But that is why I have him higher than Penix, is his age, potential. I mean, we just don't know a lot yet. He did make the plays when they had to be made against Alabama and Washington, like I said, but we still don't know a lot about this guy. But he is a winner. The NFL will like that, and they'll like his size and his arm talent that he'll put on display at the combine. I'm gonna just say that. I mean, when I say that, I think of the balls that he had, like, or the passes, I should say. I believe the one to, is it Loveland or Copeland? Can't remember his name. The tight end from Michigan, who's a stud, against Ohio State. That ball he put right behind the linebacker, like right behind his shoulder as he turned. That was great anticipation and a great ball that he put right on the money. And he played great in that game too. He didn't lose to Ohio State in his career, which is another big thing. So yeah, JJ McCarthy, he's got a lot of potential, but a lot of things to work on as well. And we need to see, can he be the guy that actually makes the plays consistent? Good old Bo Nix, baby, here at number 4 for me. And he's got some great arm talent as well. He is a 5th-year senior. Originally was a 4-star recruit, committed to Auburn. Did not play great though. At Auburn, was terribly inconsistent. I think he was in like the 50% completion percentage consistently at Auburn. Comes to Oregon and lights it up. I mean, when he transferred to Oregon, as a WSU fan, I was like, all right, he'll play great against these bad teams like WSU or, you know, Stanford, Cal. But when it comes to UW and USC, Utah, he's just going to fall apart. And that just wasn't the case. He just got better and better, and obviously the weapons in that offense helped him. But he was the best player on the field, easily. He just was. He made the plays in big-time moments. He beat big-time teams, and he did it consistently at Oregon. He was fantastic. I mean, the dude had 45 passing touchdowns this season. He had 51 total to 3 interceptions. That says a lot about the development of him, because like I said, at Auburn, he was insanely inconsistent. Goes to Oregon, becomes this great leader. He shows pocket presence. He shows mobility, awareness, and he also showed off that arm that we all knew that he had at Auburn. But finally, at Oregon, he showed it consistently. And that's why he has placed himself right in the first round. I think he goes in the first round. We will see him at the Senior Bowl as well, where I think he'll be great and kind of solidify that. But like his Pac-12 counterpart, Penix, that Oregon offensive line kept him pretty clean. So seeing him under pressure you might see a little bit of Auburn Bo Nix in the NFL when pressure gets to him, but he showed fantastic development through his time at Oregon, and he just got better and better. I tried to, basically in my head, I was like, nah, at some point he's just going to go back to that Auburn Bo Nix that we know, and he just never did. So props to him solidifying himself in the first round, because I think a lot of people at Auburn thought he should have been a first round pick, but just never really got to that point with Auburn. So the transfer to Oregon was an absolute resurgence, and you'll love to see it, honestly. And now we get to the top 3, and at 3 is Jayden Daniels, 2023 Heisman. I mean, do I have to say much more? 4-star recruit originally. I believe he was 4-star. I could be wrong about that. He might have been a 3, but originally went to Arizona State. And he's a really good athlete, obviously. Probably the best of this quarterback class. Just go watch the Florida game. He went for 350 passing yards, 250 rushing yards. No one's ever done that in a game in college football history outside of one man, and that man is Jayden Daniels. So that says a lot about him just there. And he showed as well, just like Bo Nix, he developed a ton as a passer. He was definitely inconsistent at Arizona State, I should say. There at ASU, he flashed the arm and he flashed the mobility. At LSU, he put it all together, and especially this season. And you saw the development from even last year to this year, how much better he got at the touch on the deep balls and the intermediate routes, but also just having the awareness, sometimes just check it down or use your legs to go pick up yards. Super good improviser, obviously. But I think the biggest thing is, like I said earlier, he showed the coachability, and a lot of teams are really going to like that. And obviously the upside is absurd with this guy. Definitely could put on more weight. He has a very skinny frame. He is definitely worthy of a top 10. Still had a few accuracy issues here and there when playing, top ranked opponents and when they got pressure on him. But I mean, you can't say much more about a guy who literally won the Heisman, and for good reason, because he had 50 total touchdowns this year and an absurd amount of yards. I think in total he had over 5,000. So definitely a career year, to say the least, and solidified him as a top 10 pick. He really did. So good on you, Jayden Daniels. Your draft night won't take long to figure out where you're going. Another guy who won't have a long draft night, or at least a long wait, Maye. Talk about prototypical size, 6'5", 230, athletic, dual threat, huge arm. Huge. And if Caleb Williams wasn't in this draft, well, he'd be going number 1 overall. This is what it is. He is not Mitch Trubisky. He is not Sam Howell. I don't care what you say. The kid is different. Mitch Trubisky was raw as a prospect. Sam Howell, gunslinger, made bad decisions. Drake Maye, although sometimes he can make bad decisions, he has an absolute cannon of an arm. He's probably one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks in this draft. Like, you could start at day 1. I truly believe that. And he can make the off-platform throws. He can improvise. When he gets flushed out of the pocket, he stays poised, eyes down the field. If he has nothing, he throws it away or takes off with his legs, which is a very underrated part of his game, by the way, is his legs. They did a lot of QB sneaks with him where he just pushed the pile, and he'll run you over when he does that. Obviously, he has a family of athletes. His dad played quarterback at North Carolina, and his brother, Luke Maye, who some of you might remember, hit that dagger over Kentucky a couple years ago in March Madness. I say a couple years ago. That was like 7 probably. It was the De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk Kentucky team, I believe, that he hit it on. Nice little mid-range. But we're not talking about Luke Maye. We're talking about Drake Maye. He's a proven 3-level passer. He can kill you in the short, intermediate, and deep passing games. He's got good mechanics. He can really see what the defense is giving him. He's a good post-snap processor, I think. Maybe not pre-snap yet, but post-snap, he can see what the defense is doing and make the decision. Obviously, interceptions were a little bit up this year. The kid is still 21 years old, and he can also be a drop-back passer, which is something that a lot of college quarterbacks don't have the ability of yet. They don't play a lot from under center. Drake Maye did, and I mean, even in my notes, in weaknesses, I just have not many. He just really doesn't. Sometimes he does stand in the pocket a little too long trying to make a play, but that's kind of nitpicking at this point. And like I said, with the high picks this year, he was a little bit inconsistent as a decision maker this year. But I think sometimes he's just a little bit overconfident in what his arm can do, that he tries to force things. That can be cleaned up with coaching very, very easily. He has all the potential in the world, man, all the talent in the world. This dude is going to be a star, and I really hope he does not end up with the Commanders. I really hope none of these top 3 quarterbacks end up with the Commanders, honestly, as a Giants fan. But let's move on to the number 1 quarterback, the number 1 overall prospect, in my opinion, Caleb frickin' Williams. This dude, they compare him to Patrick Mahomes, and I can see where they get it. But I think this dude is going to be Caleb Williams in a couple years, not the guy we project to be the next Patrick Mahomes. He is going to be people saying, or have people saying, we're projecting him to be the next Caleb Williams in future drafts. And there's a reason for that. His creativity and improvisation skills are off the fucking charts. Excuse my French. He was the 2022 Heisman last year. His arm talent is absurd. Good athlete. His release is snappy quick, man. He can just flick that wrist and the ball is going 30, 40 yards down the field on a dime. He's elite off-platform thrower. He can throw at different arm angles. He was a 5-star recruit for a reason, I believe. Took over Spencer Rattler's job, obviously, and in that game made a crazy comeback against Texas. I think they were down like 20 points in that game. Natural leader. His teammates love playing for him. He showed that he doesn't really favor a wide receiver either, at least this year. He was dishing it out to all kinds of different guys. Obviously, last year he had Jordan Addison, who was great, but he throws with just really good accuracy. Obviously, when you have 67% completion percentage over career and 10,000 yards as just a 3-year starter, yeah, you're going to have some high praise. I mean, almost 100 touchdowns in 3 years to 14 interceptions. Tell me the kid ain't good. And don't tell me, oh, he was crying when they lost to UW. How is someone going to be a leader when he's crying? Like, really, bro? How many quarterbacks have you seen lose big games and they're a little bit emotional? Playoffs, regular season games when they don't make the playoffs. He realized that he probably wasn't going to make the college football playoffs when he did that. And that's what he really wanted to do at USC. That's why it took him a while to really declare for the draft, even though we all knew he was going to do it. Don't give me that bullshit, man. It's just like anything else. When a dude is really good, they're going to nitpick and find anything they can to prove that this dude can't be elite at the next level. Like, just say it. Caleb Williams is a freaking dog, man. Go look at his highlights, like, genuinely. I mean, this dude is so unbelievably talented. His arm pops off the screen. The ball pops out of his hand. It is unlike anything I have ever seen. The way that he throws on the run is like a shortstop in baseball. And I know we say that a lot about Mahomes or maybe Justin Herbert or Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. This dude actually throws like a shortstop in baseball. Watch his legs, watch his arm, the rotation. He actually throws like he's Derek fucking Jeter. The kid is incredible. I think he is going to be an all-pro someday, winning Super Bowls for whoever gets the chance to take him. And he should go number 1 overall. That's all I'm going to say about it. A few nitpicks. He is only 6'1", which isn't ideal, but he makes up for it in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the USC O-line was not good at all. And he dealt with pressure okay. At times, it definitely got to him. You think of that Notre Dame game. But, I mean, outside of that, I mean, the only other thing is he played purely in shotgun, so he'll have to become more of a drop-back passer as well. But the kid's upside is, well, Patrick Mahomes-esque. That is the upside of him. But I don't think we'll be saying that in even a year's time. I think it'll be his upside's higher. It's going to be, can he beat those other elite quarterbacks? And I think he'll be able to. And if you don't believe in Caleb Williams, well, that's your fault, bro. I will say one thing is his mechanics could be a little bit more consistent. Because when he does throw like a shortstop, sometimes it is a little bit off the mark. Or when he is in the pocket, his footwork in the lower half is just a little bit off. But that's nitpicking, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. I think I'm gonna do a defensive position next. Maybe safeties. I don't know. Who do you guys want to see next? Do you want to see running backs, receivers, safeties, edge, linebacker? Who do you want to see next? Let me know down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this was a little bit more insightful into what's to come for this draft class of quarterbacks. It's deep. Obviously, no Sam Hartman in this. I don't think Sam Hartman's very good. Yeah, so what? He beat Caleb Williams. I don't think Sam Hartman's very good, though. At least projected at the next level. Obviously, there's some other guys that I left off this list, but I appreciate you guys so much for the recent support. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.